TheJbeans.net.
We sailed on the Carnival Celebration for 8 nights in August 2024. If you follow these 12 tips, you'll likely enjoy sailing on her as much as we did. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos. Our first tip is to be aware that not all elevators on the Celebration go to all the decks, which can be a bit confusing. The forward elevators went as low as Deck 3, and they went as high as Deck 18. The midship elevators also went as low as Deck 3, but they only went as high as Deck 17. However, 2 of the midship elevators did go as high as Deck 18, and those elevators could be called with a special button. And the aft elevators only went as low as Deck 5, and they only went as high as Deck 16. Speaking of the elevators, our next tip is to look for the red rectangle of carpet when trying to find the passageways that lead to the elevators on the stateroom decks of the Celebration. During our cruise, we noticed it was a bit confusing to locate the elevator passageways while walking the long stateroom hallways. However, we eventually realized that the passageways to the elevators were marked by a red rectangle of carpet. After noticing this, finding the elevators was much easier. Our third tip is to make use of the ample directional signage available throughout the Celebration. Large directories that were full of information were available in the ship's elevator areas. The directories included a full ship deck plan, the current deck's layout, and a list of all venues with deck numbers. Additionally, signage located in the hallways made it easy to figure out which direction, forward or aft, or port or starboard, we needed to head for venues on the current deck. Our next tip is to get familiar with the touchless hand sensors located throughout the Celebration. The sensors were much more common than on other ships we've sailed. The sensors open doors between indoor and outdoor areas, as well as bathroom and venue entrances, and they were great for limiting contact with door handles. Although some sensors had a sticker that read "Wave to open," we found the sensors worked best when we held our hand near the sensor until it changed colors, indicating the door was opening. This approach was generally quicker and helped us avoid the frustration of waving our hand with no response. Our fifth tip is to be aware that there's no direct path between the forward and midship areas of Deck 17 on the Celebration. The midship area of the deck had loungers overlooking the pool on Deck 16, but a wall prevented us from walking between forward and midship. To get around it, we either went up to Deck 18 or down to a lower deck to move between the two areas. Our next tip is to keep an eye out for the perfect spots to capture some great social media shots on the Celebration. Some of our favorite locations included the glass staircases with mirrored walls, a neon chill and tropical sign on a palm frond wallpapered wall, a striking blue high-back cushion chair, the 1934 Rolls-Royce saloon that was originally parked on the Carnival Ecstasy, an abstract fish sculpture inspired by a St. Jude patient's painting, a retro Greetings from Miami backdrop, 2 larger-than-life, playful flamingo sculptures, and an infinity pool with loungers in the water at the back of the ship. Our 7th tip is to check out the Golden Jubilee Bar on Deck 6 of the celebration to see a fascinating collection of historical artifacts from Carnival's past. During our visit, we saw original items like the glass bulkhead from Carnival's first ship, the Mardi Gras, brass nightclub doors from the Mardi Gras nightclub on the Carnival, tables from the Carnival Fascination that featured iconic sketches, and door insets from the Carnival's main lobby doors. The bar also had many interesting reproductions, such as the blueprints and sketches lining the area above the bar, the maple leaf floor motif from the original Mardi Gras, and the lounge chairs inspired by the chairs used in the riverboat lounge on the Carnival. Finally, the promenade directly outside the bar also featured porthole looks through the decades, a scale model of the celebration, an original engine order telegraph from the Carnival, and coins representing each of Carnival's ships throughout its history embedded in the floor. We really enjoyed visiting Carnival's nostalgic tribute to its history and spent quite a bit of time exploring all the must-see artifacts on display. If you're interested in exploring the collection, just scan the convenient QR code located on the wall of the bar. Our next tip is to be mindful of where you sit at the central stage at midship of the celebration. Although seating was available on decks 6, 7, and 8, not all seating had clear sight lines of the stage and surrounding areas. During our cruise, we noticed that many shows use the entire stage and surrounding area, so some seating was problematic for watching everything. If you plan on enjoying some of the central stage entertainment, which we highly recommend, you might want to spend some time during the day figuring out which seats offer a full view of the performances. Our 9th tip is to make sure you're aware of the seating options available in the Grand Spectrum Theater aboard the celebration. The venue mostly featured individual, high-back cushioned chairs with shared armrests and drink holders. Additionally, there was some companion seating available at the very front, which could be accessed through the Deck 6 entrance of the theater on the starboard side or right side of the ship. Thankfully, the theater didn't have any obstructions, so all seats provided a good view of the stage and entertainment. Our next tip is to use a few kid-friendly 4-letter words to help find your stateroom. Many people remember that port and left have 4 letters, and port is the left side of the ship when facing forward. Additionally, even has 4 letters, and the even-numbered staterooms are on the port side, or left side, of the celebration. Our 11th tip is to consider waiting until later in your cruise to try Guy's Burger Joint on Deck 17 midship and Big Chicken on Deck 16 aft. Early in our cruise, both spots were very busy with long wait lines. However, later in our cruise, both venues were significantly less crowded, even though we finished with 2 days at sea. The food was certainly tasty at both venues, but we preferred how quick and easy it was to grab a bite later in our cruise. Our 12th and final tip is to prioritize experiencing the Bolt roller coaster on Deck 19 aft and the ropes course above Deck 18 midship. Several times during our cruise, both attractions were closed during normal operating hours due to high winds or inclement weather. so it's best to enjoy them as early as possible in case poor weather strikes later.